Haha, funny story. I thought I just did a video and I never pressed record, so I went through and explained everything. So it was dry run for me. Okay, for the head, that's a 4mm tube set from SIMP. The spring gets glued. Sorry, the spring gets glued. I used just a dab of super glue on the end of the spring and put it in, I guess you could call it the nostril piece, okay? And it goes through the back of that head, that little tab right there, I guess. That right there. I had to channel it out so that the spring goes all the way through and around, and then it gets just a dab of super glue into the other side. And when I say a dab, I'm putting it on the toothpick and just barely applying it to it, so it's holding it really well. Like I said, 4mm kit. I think I counted 8 of those little cylindrical barrels per side of the head. Yeah, don't mind my spikes are falling off here because they've never been glued. I'm not done with this yet. I'm gonna be doing some panel lining. Okay, so for the waist section, let's see if I can show you. I actually used almost a full-length spring, and let's see if you take a look right in there, both sides, you can see a little bit of the spring. It actually travels all the way across. That took a little bit of a dry run, counting the number of cylinders on each side to figure out what an even look was. But the good thing is, like, if it doesn't look right, now that I got them all messed up from the pose, if you need to even it out, it actually pulls through both sides. So you can kind of even it out if the spacing's too much. The great thing about this, and I apologize for the crappy video work, the great thing about this is you really don't see the spring because of the color of these barrels. And if you go and get the silver one, you're really never going to see the silver ones. These are called the black ones. They're almost a hematite kind of look. So anyway, yeah, back to the front of them. The little tubes, or little, I don't know, it's a round piece that goes into his waist piece. This little piece, sorry for the camera work, that little piece right there is where I super glued the spring into. And then I just used a little bit of, it's not even glued in yet. There, took care of the gap. Super glued both sides, and I'm not sure how many. I think it was like 12 of those tubes to go all the way around. And then I had to channel out his backpack. So basically I just made it go through one side, out the other, and then just put an even number of springs on there. And I kept a little bit of spring tension on it so that it was always tight. Okay. So yeah, basically just channel out through his backpack and make it go all the way through. His leg piece were probably the easiest ones, but took a little bit of figuring out. If you take a look, there's the little ball end there, and then there's another end right there. Those are the original piece, the tube that ran his leg distance. Basically what I did is I cut out the middle section. You can see right after that little bit of a collar, right at the tip of my glove, that little bit of a collar. Then there's about, I don't know, 2mm, maybe 3mm of plastic tube coming out, and that's what I actually put the spring on. It's not glued. So what I had to do was, and I hopefully can get my camera to stay, what I had to do was take the spring and I had to kind of screw it onto that little piece. I took that little piece and I kept screwing it this way. And you got to push in, you got to screw a little bit. The best thing to do is kind of size your spring first, because if you have to pull the end, that plastic end off because it's too long or too short, that was my mistake. I made it too short and it was like tight up against the leg, and I didn't like that. I wanted it to bow out a little bit, so I had to cut another length of spring a little bit longer. It takes a little bit of messing around to try and figure out if you've got enough of these little barrels for the length of spring that you have. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if I'm looking at that right. Looks like I have 7 of them on each side. And like I said, I just cut out the midsection of that pipe, leaving a little bit for the spring to actually slip over the top of. It's not glued, and I just pushed it into its spot in the leg, and it's holding just fine. I've never had them pop out or anything. So that's it. If you have any questions on anything else, just message me, and I'll try and answer it for you. All right? Thanks.